Welcome to the Freedomstein Laboratory. What am I cooking up today? There were a couple things that I saw on X. One of them was this morning that I wanted to address first up. And a lot of people probably think, okay, this is a gay woman, and Nick Fuentes is saying something about wanting to be married to a 16-year-old when he's the age of 30. That seems kind of creepy and weird and all that good stuff. Well, let me go ahead and play you what was going around on X, and then I'm going to comment on it, and you probably will be a little bit surprised about what my take is when it comes to what Nick has to say here.
I want to drink it straight from the tap. I want it raw. I don't want to wait a moment. Right when the milk is good, I want to start drinking the milk. Same thing goes with women. I don't want to turn 30 and find some 20-year-old, 29-year-old woman that I have something in common with, and it's like, hey, properly aged, like wine. Women don't age like wine, they age like milk. They don't age like wine. That's not how their hormones work. That's not how they work. Yeah, I gotta find my 16-year-old wife. Probably when I turn 30 or something. Because here's the thing, I don't want to be like, let's say I get married to the 18-year-old now, 6-year age difference. When I turn 40, she's going to be 34. Ew. What if I'm 30 and she's 16? 14-year age difference. When I'm 50, she'll be 36. When I'm 40, she'll be 26. Then now we're talking here. Now we're cooking with gas. Now you can see an alternative vision for how things could be. I want a 16-year-old that's untouched, pristine, untouched, uncorrupted, innocent. That's what we all want. And all 16-year-olds want an older guy who's like capable and strong and everything to sweep them off their feet. That's what everybody wants. That's what everybody wants. No.
Okay, so this is from quite a while ago when he made that. That isn't something recent. And I have a lot of different perspectives that I'm coming at from here first. The first thing that caught my eye is the guy who shared that said that Nick Fuentes was looking for a 16-year-old child bride. Okay. I just had to laugh. I'm like, what exactly is your definition of a child bride? Okay. 16 years old is not a child bride. For me, the same thing. Pedophilia and child molestation is so heinous. I'm one of those people who believes death penalty for them, period, end of story. The recidivism rate is huge. You lessen it when you start to do things like this, when you call, wanting to marry a 16-year-old child molestation or a child bride or something of that nature. And the way that I look at this is two things. First of all, I have two stepsons who are in their 20s and they don't date. So when we hear these stories out here that we have a lot of young men who are disenfranchised and aren't interested in finding a wife, it is true. I'm experiencing that in my own life. And they have no desire to go that route at all, from what I can tell. They're not even trying to get there. At least if they're dating a little bit, you'd get a feeling for maybe someday they'll get married. But they're also not these incels either. It's not like they hate women or don't want to have anything to do with women. But I understand what Nick is saying here. And let me just rewind a little bit too, because I host another podcast that's about haunted history. So I look at all kinds of history out there, and a lot of the time we end up in the Victorian era. There's just a lot of great history there. But there's also this thing that used to happen back then that our modern sensibilities have issues with. It wasn't rare for a woman to get married when she was 16 or 17. It was what you did back then. As a matter of fact, I think I've heard somewhere that a lot of scholars believe that the Virgin Mary was 16 when she was pregnant with Jesus. So there's that. But it makes a lot of sense because when you think about the Victorian era, well, first of all, let's go with biology, your basic biology. Women, we have a time clock, men don't. You pretty much really want to have your children done by your 40s because if you hit 35 and you're pregnant, they're already treating you like you're a geriatric pregnancy. And your eggs just aren't going to be what they used to be. A lot of women have a hard time getting pregnant when they're in their 40s and carrying it all the way through. And then you have the risk of birth defects or mental handicaps. That kind of thing happens a lot when women get pregnant in their 40s. So women really do want to have their children when they're younger, but a man, I mean, we look at movie stars and rock stars who are in their 80s having children with their 30-year-old wives happens quite a bit because men can just keep having babies. There's no timestamp there for them. There's no deadline. They can just keep going. So when you had a man back in the Victorian era, a lot of the time they would lose their first wife either in childbirth, there was all kinds of diseases, they would lose lots of children too. And so it only made sense for a man who was already in his 30s or 40s to be looking for a younger woman. He's not going to want to go for somebody his own age if he wants to have more children. He's going to have a younger wife. And as Nick said there, it is appealing to a woman to have a man who already knows who he is. He's already set. He can give you a home. He has money. Women are looking for that kind of security. So it does make sense to have that kind of May, December romance that they like to say. So I'm not offended with Nick coming right out and saying that. My answer to that is so I don't have an issue with it. Women can get married when they're 16 years of age. In most states, I'm pretty sure. And most of the time, they just have to get permission from their parents. And even that, I kind of don't understand because I really feel like if you're at 16, you're already moving into that place. But okay, they were getting married at 16 all the time back in the day. But yeah, if it's before they're 18, sure, get their parents' permission and we're good to go. The other thing that gives me a unique perspective here is I started school earlier because I was born in California. And so I graduated from high school in 1989, in May of 1989. And then I started college August/September of 1989. And when I graduated, I was 17, which means when I started college, I was still 17 until October. So for almost 2 months of college, I was 17 years old. What if I was dating college guys that were in their 20s? I mean, that's why I have a hard time with the whole statutory rape thing and putting that on some guy and making him have to get on a list and all that stuff. Cause it just, I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I was adult enough to be going to college and doing adult things like going out partying and drinking too much. So I was in a place where it wouldn't be weird for me to be getting married. People would look over there and go, oh, there's a couple of college kids. They're getting married to each other. That's fine. But I guess on paper, well, he's 23 and you're 17. Oh my gosh. So I wouldn't think that was such an awful thing. People are at different places too. Kind of depends upon where you are when it comes to that stuff. So I had to laugh when I saw somebody losing their mind and saying that he wants a child bride because that's clearly not what was happening there. So I'm fine with Nick Fuentes wanting to marry a younger woman if she's all in for it. And, she's got her freedom to do that too. And plenty of girls go for older guys who have money and stuff. The other story that caught my attention, of course, has been later in the day. Of course, we had in Congress almost unanimous, everybody saying release the Epstein things. President Trump has no choice to sign that now. So we're going to get a release. Maybe. Oh, I just love our DOJ, and our FBI and our CIA. Aren't they great? They're so fabulous. They keep gaslighting us. And I'm so done with being gaslit over stuff. There's nothing to see over here. Nothing happened. Yeah, it was just Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell doing their own thing. It was just them. She was trafficking to him, and it was just him. There's nothing to see there, folks. After they told us that there was all kinds of stuff to see, we've been hearing that for years and years and years and years and years. And then it's nothing. And we're just wrapping up that investigation until you force our hands and we have to release stuff. Well, now all of a sudden we're going to open up a new investigation. Now, at least we do have Pam Bondi saying, well, we are going to follow what everybody wants us to do. And so we are going to release stuff for everybody. We'll see if they actually are going to do that. I mean, when it comes to Pam Bondi, I just really don't even know what to trust there. But I'll go ahead and play what she had to say during her little presser today.
Have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and will continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency. Also, we will always encourage all victims to come forward.
What are the next steps, Madam Attorney General, for the DOJ regarding what we assume President Trump will sign into law with the Epstein files? Is this going to be on the Justice Department website? What are you doing here over the next 30 days, as we understand it?
We will continue to follow the law with maximum transparency while protecting victims.
Yeah, so that's their way of saying they're going to redact a bunch of stuff still. So I'm sure they're going to have a lot of black in there redacted. And they are opening a new investigation, which I wonder if they're going to be able to say, well, because we're doing this new investigation, there's some other things that we can't let you see because it's an ongoing investigation. I think we all know the truth here. If there was anything really worthwhile, it is long gone by now. They have shredded those documents, hidden them away somewhere. We're never going to get the truth of what we want. And we're just going to keep going down this route. And again, another reason why I've gotten blackpilled, because I'm like, I put faith in all these people thinking we were going to get something. I do have to say, I'm from Florida. I have experience with Pam Bondi. And so I know that she can be full of it most of the time. I really would have loved to have seen Matt Gaetz in here, but that clearly is not going to happen. So I don't know. We'll see what they're going to do, but I certainly am not going to hold my breath when it comes to what we're going to get from Pam Bondi. I am pretty positive it's not going to be a bunch of binders full of stuff that we've already seen before, but it's also not going to be a list that shows us that it's the Clintons. And this is the other thing that really angers me about these people. You know, they always have their hearings and pull all these people up and then nothing ever happens. We still have nothing happening. These people aren't getting arrested. They're not being thrown in jail. We're never going to see the Clintons in jail. We're never going to see anybody actually paying for anything that they've done. But I guess we can continue to hope. And I am really, really, what if they put Candace Owens in charge of all this? We probably would get the answers to some of this stuff. It's just amazing the stuff that she's been pulling up. And the more you see, let me say this really quick, because I've been focusing a lot on TPUSA and their finances. And I also saw this point made on X today, is that somebody said, don't get lost in those weeds, because that's the distraction they want you to look at. Like, look over here, TPUSA's finances look weird. Come on, keep paying attention to this. Because this person made several points and I went, you're right. If I'm looking at motive being, hey, we're going to pew pew Charlie Kirk because he's going to find out about the finances and we're all going to be in trouble, that's really not that big of a deal. And it really doesn't make sense that if this person is your cash cow, you don't want to take him out, right? So it actually doesn't make any sense that TPUSA would have been involved in something in that regard. We do need to keep watching those finances over there and seeing what's going on. But I think they're trying to distract us from who the real culprits are. And the more that Candace Owens is talking about these Egyptian planes and these cars, these rental cars, and how many were outside of Tyler Robinson's apartment and trying to tie these license plates and all this stuff. And we know that the Egyptians have been blamed for things in the past, you know? So I'm thinking that we should keep our focus still in that direction for where this came from, because that's where I think a lot of this came with JFK. Although I do think it's our intelligence agencies in that place and here that have worked together in the past to do these things. So probably the same thing here. And the thing that really says that to us is when you have something like an assassination happen in broad daylight in front of tons of people, basically the whole world, it's sending a message. And you don't send a message because our taxes might be a little weird. You send a message because you want to warn other people not to follow the same path or else. And now we've seen what the or else is. All right. Well, I think that's all I have to say for this episode. I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I look forward to bringing you more in the future. Have a great night.